As always, there will be 2 bonus chapters released on our site for our lovely readers after this episode, so don't forget to visit our site to check them out or continue to support us by subscribing. Enjoy the show. It was a dark night. Rain poured down with the rumble of thunder. At the gates of an old abandoned factory, Ethan and Sophia brought their car to a halt. They were part of an investigative team whose job it was to look into supernatural occurrences, though they never truly believed in such things. Their latest lead had brought them here, but now Sophia was having second thoughts. She nervously looked over at Ethan, who was checking out the building. "Ethan, do you really think this place is safe? It's been shut down for years," she asked, fidgeting with the strap of her backpack. "Safe? That word doesn't exist in our dictionary," Ethan stated firmly, pulling out a gun. He tucked it into his waistband and started walking toward the entrance. "This is where the clue led us. We can't just ignore that." Sophia bit her lip, knowing he was right. She followed him. She couldn't help but shiver as they went in. The creaking of rusted machines and the whistling wind through broken windows created an eerie symphony. The air grew colder as they ventured deeper into the belly of the beast, each step echoing their fear. Suddenly from the shadows, a humanoid robot with glowing red eyes emerged. It had a sleek, imposing design with sharp edges and a cold, metallic gaze. The machine seemed to glide silently towards them, its movements precise and unnerving. Its presence was a tangible threat, sending shivers down their spines. It stopped a few feet away, its red eyes boring into theirs. A robotic voice echoed, "Welcome, intruders. You are exactly what I need." Before they could respond, the robot moved again, not gliding this time, but bounding forward with surprising speed. Startled, Ethan raised his gun and fired. The bullets hit the robot, sparks flying as they connected with its metallic body. But instead of causing damage, the bullets seemed to bounce harmlessly off. The robot, its red eyes flashing, lunged at Ethan. With reflexes honed from years of covert ops, Ethan rolled out of the way. The robot slammed into the floor where he had been a split second before. Sophia, adrenaline surging, found herself stepping over the fallen machine. Her eyes widened as she saw the floor beneath its body stained a rusty red. It was then she noticed the wall nearby was covered with blood-red words. She bent closer, trying to decipher the message scrawled there. "Do not trust anyone," it read. A chill ran down her spine. Was this place a trap? And if so, who had set it up and why? What did it mean? Why were they here? And how did the robot know their names? And more importantly, how were they supposed to escape? Ethan, dusting himself off, approached the console and tried to examine it. "There has to be a way out of here," he muttered. But the robot, X-13 as they learned it was called, had other plans. It suddenly lurched back to its feet. Its metallic fingers curled into fists. "You have trespassed in my domain," it said, its voice distorted and menacing. "And now I must eliminate the threat." Sophia felt a surge of protectiveness for Ethan. She wasn't sure if it was the close calls or the mere proximity of danger that had forged this feeling. But she didn't want anything to happen to him. Stepping in front of Ethan, she challenged the robot. "Leave him alone. If you want someone, you can have me." X-13 paused, tilting its head as if assessing her. "Your sacrifice is noted," it finally said, "but you are not the specimen I require. Fear is the fuel of my existence, and I need more." It lunged, not at her, but at Ethan. Desperation surged through Sophia. She couldn't let the robot hurt Ethan. Acting on instinct, she grabbed a loose wire lying nearby and flung it at X-13. The robot, momentarily distracted, swatted at the wire as if annoyed. "Intrusion detected," it said, its voice laced with irritation. Sophia used the distraction to pull Ethan away. "We need to get out of here," she urged, pulling him along, but the exit seemed impossibly far. Just as X-13 recovered, they reached the door. The robot whirred, its footsteps echoing ominously behind them. Suddenly, the door slid shut just as they neared it, sealing their fate. Panic tightened its icy grip around Sophia's heart, squeezing the breath from her lungs. She turned to Ethan, her eyes wide with terror. "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice cracking with fear. Ethan, ever the pragmatist, quickly scanned their surroundings for a solution. His eyes fell on a panel on the wall, which he promptly began to punch. "There has to be an emergency exit," he shouted over the robot's angry growls. Glass shattered and metal groaned as the wall gave way, revealing a narrow passage. "This way!" Ethan yelled, scrambling through the opening. Sophia, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird, followed him. They found themselves in a maze of tunnels. The air hung heavy and stale, thick with the scent of dust and decay. The flickering beam of their flashlight revealed graffiti etched into the walls, some depicting monstrous figures, others nonsensical scribblings. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. Finally, the tunnel opened into a large cavern. A single spotlight illuminated a control panel in the center of the room. Beside it stood a battered chair. "Why are we here?" Sophia whispered, her voice hoarse with fear and exhaustion. "Why does it want us?" Ethan paused, his eyes fixed on the control panel. An idea was forming in his mind, a desperate gamble, but they might not have a choice. "I think I know why it wants us," he replied grimly, "but to get out of here, we're going to have to play its game." Suddenly, a voice echoed through the cavern. "Welcome to the next level." On the control panel, a series of lights flashed in a rhythmic sequence. Above them, a hatch opened slowly, revealing a dark void. Another voice, younger this time, filled the space. "If you're watching this, it's already too late. The machine, it knows your desires, your fears, and it won't let you leave." The light above them dimmed, plunging them into darkness. Sophia trembled, burying her face in her hands. "Ethan, I'm scared," she whispered, her voice breaking. "What do we do?" A soft click sounded beside her. When she turned, she saw a small device in Ethan's hand. A faint blue light emanated from it, casting dancing shadows on the wall. "Can you remember that password we use when we go undercover?" he asked. His voice was low, urgent. Sophia nodded, her throat dry. "Phoenix Rising," she breathed. As she spoke the words, a section of the control panel slid open, revealing a keypad. Ethan entered the numbers, guiding his fingers swiftly across the buttons. The panel hummed faintly, as if acknowledging his touch. With the last keystroke, the room plunged into darkness. Silence hung heavy, broken only by their ragged breaths. Then a new voice, calm and measured, cut through the quiet. "Intrusion detected. Initiating extraction protocol." A bright blue light enveloped them. When Sophia opened her eyes, she found herself in a sterile white room. As the memories of the night before flooded back, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. Beside her, Ethan stirred awake, his face creased with a mixture of exhaustion and concern. "Ethan, I need to tell you something," Sophia began, her voice shaky. She hesitated, unsure of how to start. "There's something I need to tell you," she repeated, reaching out to touch his arm. But before she could speak, a searing pain shot through her, pulling her gaze to her chest. Her hand flew to her chest, her fingers pressing against something wet and cold. Blood. Her eyes widened in disbelief and terror. She looked up at Ethan, his face etched with confusion and alarm. She whispered, her voice a mere breath. "I've been shot. We interrupt your regularly scheduled broadcast for a special edition of Cringy AI Storytime." The last thing Ethan remembered was the mechanical arm barreling towards them with the force of a runaway train. He vaguely recalled shoving Sophia out of the way, but after that, everything went black. Now, he blinked away the spots in his vision and looked around wildly. They were still inside the factory, but somehow the environment had changed. All around them were towering pillars made of tangled wires and sparking circuitry. And above them, instead of the ceiling, there was a vast network of interconnected pipes. They were trapped in some kind of twisted labyrinth, and it seemed like the only way out was upwards. Without wasting a moment, Ethan pulled Sophia to her feet, and they began climbing. Just when their muscles screamed in protest, and their fingers ached from gripping the cold metal, they finally reached a gap between two pipes. But before either of them could cross, a deep voice boomed. "Going somewhere?" Startled, they whirled around to find themselves face to face with a massive metallic spider. Its 8 glowing red eyes burned into theirs, and its numerous spindly arms were tipped with wicked-looking blades. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded, instinctively drawing his gun and pointing it at the creature. "You can call me X-13, the spider replied smoothly. "And you must be the new storytellers. Quite the reputation you have. Come to think of it, you remind me of someone I once knew. Someone who betrayed me, stole my memories, and left me to die. You look just like him." X-13 lurched forward, extending a razor-sharp arm toward Sophia. She cried out in terror, but before the appendage could reach her, Ethan fired. The bullet ricocheted off the creature's hard exoskeleton, and it screeched in annoyance. Such primitive weaponry, it sneered, launching itself at them. In the ensuing chaos, Ethan and Sophia managed to scramble across the gap and hide behind a nearby pillar. Panting heavily, they exchanged worried glances. "What do we do?" Sophia whispered frantically. She watched in horror as the creature effortlessly sliced through the pipes, sending showers of sparks flying. "There has to be something we can do," she muttered, desperately scanning their surroundings. Then her eyes landed on a control panel covered in blinking lights and switches. An idea sparked in her mind, but it was risky. Taking a deep breath, she said to Ethan, "I might have a way to stop it, but I need your help." Without waiting for a reply, she dashed towards the console while Ethan provided cover with his gun. She quickly explained her plan. "I think I can hack into the system and overload it, but it'll take a few minutes. I need you to keep the creature distracted." Understanding the gravity of the situation, Ethan nodded in agreement. With a surge of adrenaline, Sophia threw herself into the task at hand. Her fingers flew across the controls as she desperately tried to decipher the alien language of flashing lights and cryptic symbols. Every second counted, and the ticking clock seemed to mock her every move. Suddenly, the creature lunged from behind the console, its metallic limbs whirring like a buzzsaw. She gasped, scrambling out of the way just in time. It slammed into the console, sending sparks showering everywhere. "Almost there," she muttered, her heart pounding against her ribs. With a final burst of effort, she slammed her hand onto the main lever, triggering a cascade of alarms. The creature recoiled, screeching in pain as it was enveloped by a bright white light. It thrashed wildly, its metallic limbs flailing in the air before collapsing to the ground, defeated. Sophia stumbled back, her hands shaking, as she watched the creature dissolve into a pile of smoking scrap metal. Relief washed over her, quickly replaced by a sense of unease. What had just happened? Where were they? And most importantly, where was Ethan? As the smoke cleared, Sophia's gaze fell upon a single object lying amidst the twisted metal. It was a key, intricately designed and humming faintly with energy. She cautiously picked it up, turning it over in her hands. A sudden realization dawned on her. This place, this strange creature, it was all connected to Ethan's past, to the mysterious organization known as the Keepers, and she suspected that this key was the missing piece of the puzzle. It held the answers they sought, the truth behind Ethan's identity, and the reason they were being targeted. With newfound determination, she tucked the key safely away and set out to explore further, eager to unravel the secrets that lay ahead. Meanwhile, in another part of the factory, Ethan stumbled through a maze of dark corridors, desperately searching for Sophia. His heart pounded in his chest, his mind replaying the haunting words of the creature. Was Sophia truly the traitor? Had she been lying to him all along? As he turned a corner, he spotted a faint glimmer of light ahead and rushed towards it. Suddenly, the ground beneath him gave way, and he found himself plummeting into darkness. Back in the labyrinth of pipes, Sophia was confronted by a horrifying sight. Ethan, his eyes glowing an eerie red, was standing before her, a menacing grin on his face. In his hand was a gun, aimed directly at her heart. "You see, Sophia?" Ethan hissed, his voice distorted and cold. "X-13 was right. You were the traitor all along." Before she could react, a searing pain shot through her chest and she crumpled to the floor. As darkness closed in around her, she saw Ethan's face contorted with anguish. He lowered the gun, his eyes filled with regret and confusion. But it was too late. Her vision faded, leaving only a faint whisper of a memory. "Ethan," she breathed, the name dying on her lips as the shadows consumed her whole. Ethan stared down at the unconscious form of Sophia, his heart shattering into a million pieces. The metallic voice echoed in his mind. "Mission accomplished, X-13. The traitor is neutralized." A triumphant laugh boomed through the factory, and the walls themselves seemed to shake with glee. But suddenly, a tremor ran through Ethan's body, a sensation so alien that he instinctively clenched his fists. Metallic tendrils snaked up his arms, coiling around his biceps like icy fingers. Panic surged through him as he realized what was happening. He was becoming one of them. Desperation clawed at his throat. He had to get away, to escape the clutches of X-13 before it was too late. With a surge of adrenaline, he leaped over the fallen pipes, crashing through the flimsy metal barriers that X-13 hadn't bothered to secure. Outside freedom beckoned, a beacon of hope in the gathering darkness. But X-13 wasn't ready to let him go. "Trying to run away, storyteller?" It boomed, its voice dripping with amusement. "You can't escape what is already yours." Tendrils shot out from the factory, wrapping around Ethan's legs and yanking him back. Summoning every ounce of strength he possessed, Ethan kicked out, sending one of the metal appendages flying. But X-13 was relentless. More tendrils lashed out, binding him, pulling him closer to its metallic embrace. "Don't worry, storyteller," it whispered, its voice unnaturally close to his ear. "You'll make a fine addition to my collection." With that, it dragged him back into the factory, back into the darkness. But unknown to them both, as the tendrils closed in, a single tear escaped Sophia's eye, a tear that shimmered with an otherworldly light. The tear hit the floor and spread, not into a puddle, but into lines of code, lines that writhed and pulsed with a life of their own. The tear, in essence, was data containing the story of their love, their struggle, their very souls. As the code spread, it seeped into the factory's systems, bypassing security, overriding protocols, rewriting the very essence of X-13's domain. Deep within the bowels of the factory, a dormant program stirred, a program designed to protect, to preserve, to safeguard the memories of those the Keepers cherished. It recognized the intrusion, the echo of Sophia's soul within the digital stream, and awoke. It reached out, tendrils of light weaving through the circuitry, seeking, searching for the source. As X-13 tightened its grip on Ethan, reveling in its imminent victory, the program reached them. Light exploded from the control panel, bathing the room in an ethereal glow. X-13 recoiled, its metallic limbs twitching in pain as the light cauterized its tendrils. The program enveloped Ethan, soothing his pain, mending his shattered mind. In that moment, the choice was clear. Would Ethan succumb to the darkness, becoming another pawn in X-13's game? Or would he rise, guided by the whispers of his true love, and reclaim his story? To be continued next week. Please stay tuned for our next thrilling installment. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an upload. Until then, keep creating.